Hey, hey, what's going on, peoples? Champ Ron Brooks here in Memphis, Tennessee. So glad that you all that'll be joining me today will be getting some very important information as we progress through today's topic. Four important areas to consider when buying waterfront land property is what we want to get into. Again, so glad that you could join. For those that are watching this on the replay, or whether you're listening to this live, I certainly greatly appreciate you. I appreciate everyone at Wisdom and everybody that's associated with helping to power the Wisdom app in all different facets and all different areas. I think we could all appreciate and understand that operating and running one of these apps is it's not child's play, to say the least. There's a lot that goes into these apps, some that we know and some that many of us aren't aware of. And so, for the little bit that I am aware of and understand, I definitely appreciate what Wisdom is doing here for building this particular community, as I've been a part of it now for, I guess, maybe about what, 6, 7 weeks or so. Oh, we're going on 2 months that I've been a part of the Wisdom community. It's been super dope and great opportunity to connect. I've met some great people. We've been able to curate opportunities on other apps as well and have them been part of my podcast and all kinds of things. And so, really dope to be here. Um, a little bit about me. So, three areas where I add value. My background is in banking, about 18 and a half years prior to taking on the president role at River City Capital here in Memphis, where we have a mission of providing low cost loan funding for businesses led by people of color and women here in the Memphis, Shelby County area. And I have the honor, the privilege, and the great opportunity to lead a very dynamic team here in Memphis towards that mission. And we have put just over $18 million into the Memphis economy through our loan funding from our loan fund that we manage. Again, we're able to do deals that many of the banks simply aren't able or willing to do as it relates to businesses of color, and whether it's startups or existing businesses. So definitely go to rivercitycapital.org to learn more there. I am a real estate investor, been doing that since 2007. That's what we're going to get into some today. But I primarily focus now on land, although I do have a small portfolio of properties, and I do wholesale and hotel, both properties and land. However, I'm also a mentor and developer of people that have a dedicated interest in learning how they can invest in land. Did you guys know um, that where you're sitting right now, listening to me here on Wisdom or whatever platform you're listening to me on right now, that you could be investing in land from right where you are right now? And without having to deal with contractors, with roofs, with rodents, with termites, with tenants, right? A lot of the challenges that can come with owning property and renting it out as a landlord, you don't have to deal with land, right? And there's plenty of it. You know, they're not making any more of it, but there's plenty of it all over the country, all over the world. And the values in the land, because when they say location, 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 well, you can't have the location without the land, right? Because all of our properties, for the most part, are on land, particularly dry land. So, land is definitely where it's at. So, I help develop people with that. I'm building out a platform. Shout out to my team with Land Champs. And so, I'm building out a platform that should be ready by the end of this month that allow you to. Uh, get the knowledge that I have to help you be able to specifically do land investment deals and generate recurring cash flow from doing land deals. So imagine doing a land deal and making three, four, $500 a month in additional income without you having to go visit the land or having to do really anything with it, right? There are people that are buying land and investing in land and leasing land all day long, including myself. And so imagine if you did that rinse and repeat, and you had a really neat land investing business that again is low risk, but matches a lot of the same returns that you would get as a landlord, right? Without all the extra expense or the extra worry about people being in structures, right? So that's what I do. And then also I'm the podcast host of the Minding Your Business podcast, which I've had since 2017. You can check that out. Matter of fact, it's right here on Wisdom. So you can now see it in my bio. You can see the link to the podcast. And if you are so inclined, definitely go give a 5-star rating, listen to some episodes. And I'd love to have you as a guest at some point on the podcast to share with the Body of Your Business community about your story or about your upcoming book or anything you've got going on. We'd love to be able to promote you to the audience that is looking for you. So, anyway, those are 3 areas where I add value. Let's get into the subject. So, 4 important areas to consider when buying waterfront land property. So, this is, whether, certainly if you're by the ocean, if you're by a lake, if you're by a river, if you're looking to purchase land that's by a water source, right? That aligns or attaches to a water source. There's 4 areas that I look for anytime I'm looking to buy that type of land or that piece of land. One is you got to look at the survey. Either you're going to have a survey done on the land, or maybe one has been done recently on the land that you want to review that. And what you want to review on the survey is you want to get an understanding of what the soil is like, what the soil is made of. Are there any minerals? What the drainage is like. So whether there's a flood, and I'll get to more of that here in a little bit, or just more likely rain, right? If you were to get significant rain, what's the grading on the land? How does it run off? And how is runoff handled so that you don't have obviously pools of water on the land, which moistens the land, makes it difficult to build on, and uh, and to get permits on and things like that. So having a good survey done is very important, and you'll want to do that and update that over the years that you own the property. So you want to make sure you have a good survey vendor. You want to reach out to 2 or 3 that are local in whatever market that the land is in. You want to make sure that that's done fairly concisely, and you want to make sure that you understand that. And you'll want to do that prior to purchasing the land, right? So you'll want to make sure that you have that survey done on the land. And that should include the grading, that should include the drainage, how it's connected to utilities, where it's connected to utilities, that sort of thing. Very important when you're buying any land, but certainly near a water source, because land often by a water source can be a little softer, sometimes mushier, depending on the water source and how the water may have runoff. Speaking of runoff, you want to make sure that there's not a degrading of the land by the water source. This is probably more so by lakes and oceans, more so than rivers, but you'll want to make sure that you understand that you could be losing land square footage if it's being, say, washed away, particularly, by an ocean. So if you have oceanfront property, that's something that you're always looking at is the degrading of the land over time as the ocean water does what it does, right? So, number one is survey. You want to make sure that that's in place when you're buying, again, any type of land, but certainly if it's going to be near a waterfront. Number two, number two is a big one. Property taxes. Of course, that's any type of land, property, whatever it is. There's going to be property taxes. Typically, the taxes are slightly higher for waterfront property. So you'll want to look into that in whatever area, town, city that you're looking to purchase land. You'll want to go to that county's assessor site, and you'll want to research and look at what the tax bills are. And you'll want to talk to the owner about the taxes, how they're assessed, what they've paid on them, that sort of thing. So you'll want to definitely double check property taxes. That's very important because you don't want a surprise at the end after you've bought the property and now you're getting either straddled with a bill that you didn't expect or it's higher than you expected, or at some point down the line, you'll want to make sure that the property taxes are one, paid up to date at the time when you purchase the land, because you'll want to deal with outstanding taxes. So you'll want to make sure that the owner has done so to go ahead and do so. And if not, then you'll need to negotiate how that's going to be done from the seller's end. So property tax is very important, folks. Make sure that you look those up and understand that wherever you purchase the land. Number three is what's called the bulkhead. So the third thing that I look for is what's the status of the bulkhead. So you may be thinking, okay, what is the bulkhead? All right. So the bulkhead is a term for that's the land. Sometimes it could be a strip of land. It could even be just a slither of land that from the water's edge, right? So from the water's edge to your property, right, where your property runs up to the water, there are times when that land could be owned by somebody else, that little strip of land. And so, what could happen, what I've seen happen, working with actually a cash buyer, land cash buyer recently, was uh, they found out that that little strip of land was owned by somebody. And then when they went to try to build a deck from their land out over to the lake, that property owner came in and was able to stop that, right? Because they owned that land and did not give permission to do that. So, what you want to do is you want to check what's called the bulkhead. The way you do that is when you are talking with whoever you're using as your closing attorney, right? Your title attorney. You'll want to ask him or her about the bulkhead, and they'll research that as they're uh, doing their title search. Very important because you want to make sure that that land, it could be owned by an individual, it could be owned by a company, it could be owned by the local government, county or state. It could even be owned by the federal government. And so you'll want to make sure you understand what those boundaries are. Um, is there an opportunity to purchase that bulkhead strip of land as you're doing the deal? Sometimes there is. Sometimes that owner is very willing to give that up, or they're willing to negotiate a deal opportunity where you can use that land uh, that may be owned by another owner. But you want to look into that. It may not even exist. The owner of the land that you're actually purchasing may actually own the bulkhead, right? Which is even better, right? But in the event that they don't get caught slipping with that. Make sure you double check and understand. Ask about the bulkhead. Ask the seller about it, but don't just rely solely on the seller. Also ask the title agent or the closing attorney, real estate closing attorney, whoever you're using to close deals. Which is a side note, you definitely want to when you're doing any type of real estate deal. My rule of thumb is I always close with an attorney. I don't. I'm willing to pay the money to close with an attorney because you want to make sure that everything is conveyed properly, everything is processed properly in the correct names and things like that. You just don't want to leave those things up to chance when it comes to real estate ownership. There are eight ways to Sunday on how somebody could show up at some point in the future trying to claim something or something's not perfected correctly. So you want to make sure that that is done. If you're doing a deal where there's maybe some sort of lease involved or some type of seller carryback, whatever that is, you want that properly documented, right? Um, and you want to have a level of assurance from some legal protection, right? It's just to protect yourself and to protect everybody involved in the transaction. So just wanted to add that piece. The fourth and final area is flood insurance or just insurance, period. Typically, when you're buying land by a waterfront, in many cases, it could be considered in a flood zone. So you'll want to make sure that flood insurance is available in the area where you're purchasing the land. Um, Flood insurance, of course, is not always the cheapest thing, so you'll want to shop it with, I recommend, three or four different vendors, insurance companies in that area. You'll want to research that. Google's your friend there. You'll want to research that and make sure that um, you understand the ins and outs of what's covered because each insurance company could be a little bit different in terms of coverage. So you'll want to make sure what's covered and what's not covered, right? So this is where your insurance agent can be a good friend. So you'll want to research them in the area that you're looking at, whether it's your own backyard or it's somewhere else. And you'll want to make sure that you get some quotes, and you'll want to have that in place at the time that you close on the property. And now it is the deed is transferred to you, and now you have ownership. All right. So flood insurance is big. Any other kind of business liability insurance you'll have to look at depending on the usage of the land. So if you're buying the land for, uh, let's just say you're going to do, a vacation location, or you're going to do some sort of storage, or you're going to build a structure and have a vacation rental. Whatever it is that you plan to do, make sure that you understand that the levels of business liability insurance that you'll need. That's more so for the business, more so than the land itself. Okay, so the four areas that I look for that are very important when buying waterfront land property. So let's go through them again real quick. Number one was having a proper, adequate survey done. Very important. Worth the money. Yeah, I'm telling you. Trust me, it's worth the money. Get a survey done on the land. Two, understand the property taxes. Understand any potential liens that may be out there. Again, that's where your title attorney or real estate attorney is going to help you out with that. But understand property taxes. Understand what they're be assessed, the rate that they're assessed. Research and look, have they gone up significantly, recently or at any point? How do they compare? So look at comparable property around you. So if you got 2 acres, look at around other properties that are 2 acres in that same county. That obviously are in somewhat similar status. You can't compare something that's got a structure on it to something that doesn't, right? Or something that's got a built-in lake on it versus something that's just kind of more raw land. So you want to do as close to comparable as you can, but you want to make sure you understand property taxes. Okay, the bulkhead. Don't forget the bulkhead. That strip of land between where your property may end and where the water begins. Okay, it's very technical in some cases, but you want to make sure that who owns that land? Do you own the land property up into the water line, or does someone own what's called that bulkhead strip right there? You want to make sure because you don't want to, go and leave a boat right there and have some over anxious uh, other owner come and either threaten you or you never know or try to claim or do something with that land or build a fence, things like that. So you'll want to have an understanding with that person. If there is someone that owns the bulkhead, you're going to want to have that conversation with them. And most people are very easy to work with, but you're going to want to have it documented in writing. So even if they say, well, Ron, yeah, you can use that little strip of land. I don't care. You know, um, don't just go off their verbal, just saying, yeah, it's okay. You want to get that documented in writing that it's okay. Some agreements that I've done is, the person doesn't really care, but you just, hey, I'll give you, $10 a year, or whatever to be able to, go and utilize that little strip of the land, or maybe I have a boat or a deck that I'm gonna build out over into the water, over the lake, that's going to cross paths with that land. You're going to want to have some sort of agreement, with that person. Hopefully, that land, that strip of the land, that bulkhead is owned by the current owner, and so that it's not a problem because when you buy the property, it also includes that bulkhead. So definitely want to watch for that. Fourth is again the flood insurance. You want to make sure that you understand that. Are you in a flood zone? More than likely you are, since what? You're next to water and a big water source, whether a river, lake, ocean, whatever it is. So you're going to want to do that. Okay. You want to make sure check out two or three insurance vendors that are local to that area and get some quotes, and then go with the quote that not just the cheapest quote or the least expensive quote. Go with the quote that's going to give you the best peace of mind, the best coverage, and you get the best service with. I mean, those are the biggest things. And working with companies today, the biggest thing is, can you talk to a human being that has some level of decision making, right? Um, and how quick can you get a hold of that person, particularly if there's a need or whatnot? What's their online platform look like? Is there opportunities to negotiate your rate as you've been a customer of theirs and not been a hassle to them? Can they reciprocate that back to you in the form of savings on your policy? So those are the four things: survey, property taxes, bulkhead, and flood insurance. If anybody wants to come up and ask any questions or have any thoughts, you can certainly do that. For everybody that's in the room, shout out Michael Brewer, Christopher, Lionel, Dr. Rael, Otto, Kajander, Lauren, Todd, Pearl, Chris, Rory, Jabari, Dorothy, everybody, Clint, Michael J. Shout out to everybody who is in the room or has been in the room that is listening to this. These are four important areas to consider when buying waterfront land property. I'll give another quick minute. If anybody wants to come up, hit the button there at the bottom. You can come up as a guest, but do so quickly because I will be ending this conversation soon, and even sooner if nobody comes up. So I'll give that a quick minute before proceeding. All right. See that there are none. I thank you so much for listening. For those that are listening to this on the replay, definitely shout out to you. Thank you. Listen, you can connect with me in my bio. Let me say it that way. You can connect with me in my bio. I love to be able to answer any additional questions, give you some additional insight or direction if you're interested in land or if you're interested in properties. I have a gift for you, a free gift. If you DM me on Instagram, my Instagram is in my bio. If you DM me today on Instagram, just send me just a quick message. I will send you my free ebook, which is how to invest in property with little to no money down. Really good, kind of short, to the point ebook that'll provide you a nice guide for getting started. So that's my gift to you, free of charge, no cost to you at all. I will send that right over. I do have that in print as well as electronic, so I can definitely get you a copy of that. But you got to DM me on Instagram. All right. Thank y'all so much again. I'm Ron Brooks, aka Champ Ron. Shout out to all of you that are listening to this. Shout out to the founder of Wisdom, as well as everyone that's working on the front lines and behind the scenes to make this Wisdom app community the very best that it can be as it continues to develop and continues to grow. Make today a great day. Remember, there's three things that unite us all. We all want to be a little bit better for ourselves, a little bit better for our families, and a little bit better for our communities. If we can keep all those things in mind with everyone that we interact with, we'll all make this place just a little bit better collectively. Champ Ron, take care.